India and the European Union have seen a lot of engagement. The European leaders were here for the G20 summit. There's plan for the India-Europe summit as well, which is expected to happen very soon. With me is the European Union's ambassador to India. So welcome to WION, and I know that this is perhaps your last interview before you leave the country. 4 years here in India, a lot of fond memories. If you can sum up your ambassadorship here in New Delhi.
Thank you. Yes, I think I've been privileged to serve India in this period where we have seen great progress in our strategic partnership. Let me recall some landmark moments. I will start with the summit in Porto in 2021, where the decision was taken to resume the negotiation on free trade agreement. So it was a very particular summit because you had all member states together with the Prime Minister. And I think it was a very clear evidence of the shared determination to bring this relationship to a new level. And then we had the visit of the President of the European Commission, von der Leyen, in 2022, and the announcement of the creation of the Trade and Technology Council, which finally met for the first edition not so long ago in Brussels. And here now I end on a happy note with a visit of both presidents for the G20 summit, and they also had the possibility to meet bilaterally with Prime Minister Modi and reiterate our intention to progress in practically all dimensions of our relationship.
But essentially, as you pointed out to TTC, if you can perhaps talk about how it came about and what is the future like in terms of this platform being an area of engagement between the Indian and the European ministers?
Yes, well, I'm sure you're aware we only have another instance of Trade and Technology Council. That's with the United States. And this gives you already the flavor of how important it is for us, this sort of format. It's a format that brings together 3 ministers from the Indian side and 2 or more vice presidents, depending on the topics discussed. On the agenda, you have issues which are crucial, which are about the nexus between trade and technology. And I'm told that the conversation in Brussels was extremely thorough, and it made evident how convergent we are on a number of topics. Let's say the resilience of supply chains, for instance, or the need to foster green technology. So these are the sort of topics that we shall see, I think, also in the next meeting of the TTC, which is bound to happen soon.
So, can you give us any update of the free trade agreement negotiations? We saw the Trade Commissioner was here in Delhi. He briefed on that in that extensive press conference. But for our viewers, if you can give us an overview of where the talks have progressed.
Yes, well, we have had 5 rounds of talks, and we note progress. There will be another round in Brussels around the month of October. And we have had, as you say, we have had the Vice President responsible for trade, Dombrovskis, visiting India. He was here in Jaipur first for the G20, and then for a high-level dialogue with Minister Goyal. And what struck me in this interaction was not just the friendly atmosphere, which is obvious, but also the determination shown by both sides to progress. India is the 5th largest world economy, on its way to become the 3rd largest. The EU is the largest trade bloc globally. I think a free trade agreement would be a big prize for both.
There must be some challenges as well for you were here. Perhaps if you want to talk about that as well, something that you think that you missed or you would like to see it happening as well?
Look, I think the major challenge for me, as well as my predecessor or successor, is to translate this strategic partnership into operational deliverables. I think we have started to do so, but the potential is still considerable.
How does EU sees India in today's world? I know there has been engagement. You pointed to TTC, India being the second country. But in terms of all the other countries, when it comes to China in the region, when it comes to Africa, when it comes to United States as well, but US you have a special relationship. If you can talk in that relative terms, how important India is for European Union?
Well, I think we see this relationship grow by the day, and it's natural because we have shared values. We both are democratic countries, open societies, and we have converging interests. For instance, in upholding the UN Charter, in making sure that the rules-based world order remains underpinned by international law. And then we, based on these shared values and converging interests, we can together address global challenges which are becoming more crucial by the day. I'm referring obviously to climate change. I think both India and the European Union start from the same proposition that we need to act fast and act now. And that's why we have now a pretty good and extensive conversation on how to do so. How to look, for instance, at a greener energy mix, the digital transition. We want to promote innovation, we want to foster competition, but we also want to protect individual rights and freedoms of our citizens. So we need to look closely at data protection, for instance. And that's another topic where the EU and India can mutually benefit by exchanging experiences. These are just a few examples. There can be many others in security, in defense, in academic cooperation. You certainly know that the Indian contingent is the largest contingent of students participating in Erasmus+. And in general terms, I think in scientific endeavors, India and the EU can learn a lot from each other. Most recently, we have seen a great success of the Indian space scientist. And it was good to see that actually there was a cooperation with the European Space Agency also supporting this major endeavor.
But in your tenure, 4 years, we saw the conflict in Europe, in Ukraine. How do you assess India's stance? Were you disappointed over Indian stance, or do you think that India took the stance which was the best interest for its people?
Well, I think I respect the Indian position. We understand its constraints. We see in Europe, unfortunately, an instance of a major violation of the UN Charter, a totally unjustified aggression against a peaceful neighbor. It's important that the international community comes together, condemns the aggression, and takes action to stop it. The Russians must withdraw their troops and get back to the internationally recognized borders. But I think what the Prime Minister said is not a time for war, is evidence of the fact that India can play a very positive role.
So now coming to G20, how do you see the Indian presidency of the G20 grouping? The summit just got over the weekend, and we saw that consensus as well.
I think it has been a great success for the Indian presidency to bring together the international community to make the G20 relevant. If you look at the discussions held, you see some of the topics we have already mentioned: climate change, the digital transition, but also the pursuit of sustainable development goals, and also women's empowerment, getting the spotlight in this major international platform. So I definitely think that India deserves to be commended, but let me mention specifically the inclusion of the African Union in the G20. I think a major positive development, and the African Union will bring added value to the conversation in the G20.
Role EU played when it comes to the joint statement. I'm asking this because till Saturday morning when the summit started, everyone believed that there will be no joint statement. So everyone converged in making sure that there is a joint statement. So if you can talk about EU's role in making sure that the joint statement came.
Well, I think we have tried to help the Indian presidency in reaching consensus. The topics were very relevant for the international community. We must all work together for the pursuit of sustainable development goals, just to make an example. So I think we made we did our best to support the Indian presidency in circumstances far from easy in a very difficult international setting.
But sir, the joint statement mentioned about Ukraine, lot of paras as compared to the Bali declaration, but these paras never condemned Russia, something perhaps EU would have liked to see it, but essentially do you see a step back by the European Union, by the Western world, because it was not very harsh even though everyone got what they wanted?
Well, I think we need to look at this statement, and the statement contains very important facts and principles. So there is a clear call for respect of the UN Charter, respect for territorial integrity and the sovereignty of states. There is the threat of the use of nuclear weapons is termed as unacceptable. There is a clear ask to resume as soon as possible the Black Sea Grain Initiative. There is a call for a just and durable peace. So I think these are all very important principles that I would like to highlight in the statement.
But we also saw a tweet by the Ukrainian government spokesperson saying that G20 statement is nothing to be proud of. Do you agree with this statement?
Look, our support for Ukraine is staunch and remains so, and we have tried to support Ukraine from the very beginning, and we will continue to do so. So nothing has changed when it comes to our strong support for Ukraine. The fight of Ukraine for freedom, for independence, for democracy is also our fight.
So over the weekend is just not a G20 summit, but also the announcement of the mega connectivity project that connects India to Europe via the Arab world, Middle East, West Asia, use whatever terminology. But how do you see this connectivity project as a game changer when it comes to the region?
I think it's a very important development. Yes, it's about building connectivity bridges which are underpinned by transparency, principles of inclusivity and sustainability, social sustainability, fiscal sustainability. The European Union has already in place a major policy initiative in this respect. You are familiar with that, Global Gateway. So we have set aside 300 billion euro for the period 2021-2027 precisely for that, to build sustainable infrastructure. And I think this new initiative that brings India in, the Middle East in, the US in, will fit perfectly into that framework. So I believe it is indeed a very momentous decision taken and a very significant development.
But sir, any details as to how this project will come up? As of now, we have seen the vision statement. We saw a fact sheet by the White House, but essentially how things will go about in terms of who will put in the money, which ports will be used, which railroads will be used, are we going to build new railroads? If you can shed some light on the details.
I think the work is starting now. All the parties will come together and see what priorities to define. But from our side, again, if you look at Global Gateway, you get the general flavor, the general idea of what we can do also when it comes to the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor.
This corridor is being seen as a corridor which is coming up to give an opposition to China's BRI. There have been a lot of buzz coming from Europe over Italy leaving BRI as well. Will you agree, or what's your assessment, that is this a project, a counter to China's BRI? Because the focus in this project is on transparency, respecting the sovereignty of countries, which we haven't seen in the Chinese project.
Well, I think this project deserves to be seen on its own merit. The principles are publicly enunciated, and I think it's a positive agenda. So I would look at it as in its own feature. It's not directing against anyone. It's a positive project that brings together a number of partners convinced that we need to work for an infrastructure which is sustainable and which needs to be developed in a transparent and inclusive fashion.
So my last question, and perhaps your last public word as well, future of India and EU in today's world, if you can give your answer to this. I know it's a generic question, but I want this because this will be the word which history will perhaps remember after your not only 4 years here in Delhi, but 8 years of tenure in separate segments in India.
Thank you. Well, not history. It will be presumptuous for me to say so. But I definitely, but my humble opinion is that we have ample scope for progressing further. We have made great strides. And I think the potential is huge. And I'm pretty sure that we'll see in the years to come the strategic partnership going from strength to strength.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. It was not only lovely speaking to you, but 4 years having a constant touch with you is something that we all will remember. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for your help. Thank you.